we invested a lot in making sure that your signers, whether they're checking a box or they're reviewing a document and adding a, more formal signature, have a fast, mobile-friendly, branded experience that lets them understand what they're signing and complete that experience as quickly as possible.
Hey everybody, James Shepard here with another edition of the Merchant Sales Podcast. I don't know about you, but one thing I have always despised over the years is sending out that DocuSign agreement. Oh, it's so awful. People open it on their phone. They got to scroll around to see the information. They end up pausing and not completing the contract for days or even weeks on end. And so I've done something a little bit different over at Full Stack Payments with John Shirey. And so we wanted to share a little bit of our success today with you. This is a company called Harbour that's we're working with on the ClickWrap. So it's a click to agree agreement. And we're just going to kind of open the playbook and just tell you what we did. This is not a paid sponsorship in any way. Harbour hasn't paid for me to promote them. I'm paying full price for what they offer. I just think it's an amazing solution. I think it's something that many of you are going to resonate with. And so we're going to do that. And then we're going to head over to Rich Norton and talk about some sales tips and things of that nature. I will be at ETA Transact myself. I'm doing a panel discussion. So hopefully I will see you at ETA Transact at the panel. And with that being said, let's dive into this interview. Hey everybody, I'm here today with Josh Elkes, CEO at Harbour. How you doing today, Josh?
Doing great. How are you, James?
Doing fantastic. Today we are talking about something that drives everybody crazy in our industry, and that is contract management. You know, we're all dealing with DocuSign and e-signatures and all this stuff, and we're going to talk about some innovative things that are happening there. But before we dive into that, Josh, I would love to get your story a little bit. How did you end up doing what you're doing today with Harbour and trying to streamline contract negotiations or completions?
For sure. Starts how all good contract management founders start, which is I was majoring in jazz guitar in New York at the New School. And my background is truly in music. So started off playing a lot and then was working in the music industry, specifically in music publishing and licensing, which is very contract intensive. Every license is basically
Sure.
the contract between whoever owns or manages rights to music and somebody that wants to use it. And I really fell in love with this space of how can you help creators make a living while
Mm.
keeping integrity in their work. And I followed that thread from the music industry over to Getty Images, so doing similar licensing, but for images and videos. And when I joined Getty, it was a really exciting time for images and videos because you had things like influencer content, Instagram and YouTube were really taking off as far as like new innovative ways to experience visual content, including a new way for brands and businesses to engage with creators of visual content. And
Mm.
so the contracts and licenses that were needing to take place there were happening at a scale and volume that had really never been seen before. And so in 2015, Getty had me move out to the West Coast from New York, where I was initially based. I moved to San Francisco and got a really amazing up close and personal view of the way brands want to work with creators in digital experiences. So what we saw was people wanted to get contracts done between a business and a creator as easily as it was to do a Venmo, but it
Right.
felt like a wire transfer. And I
Yeah.
know we're talking to a payment audience, and so that probably resonates. And so that initial kind of insight was like, hey, like, what if we made the contracting experience as fast, easy, and scalable as all these other digital tools that had evolved to move with the volume and scale that the world was moving at? And so my co-founder, Eric, who I had met through the San Francisco Ballet, we were at a fundraiser together. He had been at Google, helped start their people analytics team, which was building products to help people collaborate internally at scale. We decided to set out to like, how can we help people work together at scale when it comes to solving for their contracts?
Mm.
And that was really like the foundation that started
Yeah.
Harbour.
Yeah, that's great. And I think maybe for some additional context, I'll talk about kind of how you and I met because it's so interesting. So, as I think most of my audience at this point knows, I'm an investor in a company called Full Stack Payments. John Shirey is the CEO of the company, and as I think also my audience knows, I vehemently hate DocuSign, always have, meaning that that whole experience I think is ridiculous. It's like you're signing up for a payment processing account, you're not buying a house. It doesn't need to be quite this complex. And so what's interesting is for full stack payments at the beginning, it still was this kind of at the very end of the process, it was these really beautiful mobile friendly forms. And at the end, it was still this stupid DocuSign redirect. And so we're like, no, 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 we have to go a click to agree. And so as we started to dive into that through some connections, I found Josh and his company Harbour. And so Full Stack Payments decided to work with Harbour to implement our own what's called a ClickWrap. So with that kind of intro, Josh, talk about, because our audience may not be familiar with what this even is. What is a ClickWrap agreement versus kind of the traditional DocuSign type agreement?
Sure, it's a great question, and what you touched on as far as like the passion that you felt around like the contracting experience, and that we've seen with all of our customers is it matters to people because it is the final mile in the way that you're able to go work with somebody
Right.
and create something. And so we love that it matters and that people care about it. It's not an insignificant part of how businesses work. And so ClickWrap is very interesting in that it's kind of like when we think about contracting at scale and contracting at volume, it is the check yes to agree and let's get on with things contracting experience. But what is important about it though is that number one, the experience for the end user, the person checking that box and agreeing that they actually really do understand what they're agreeing to. And that on the business side, the person that's implemented that check yes to agree process for their checkout or their payment sign up flow, that their developers have an experience where they can really craft the end user result in a way that aligns to your point, like with the rest of the product experience, because you don't want to just have like the final part of your process feel foreign or kind of out of place. And so what ClickWrap lets people do is click yes to agree to a set of terms of conditions, but the audit trail that happens behind there, which is where Harbour really comes into play, empowering not just the checkbox, but also the document behind that ClickWrap and all of the compliant auditable information that goes into being able to prove that yes, that person truly did read and agree to these terms before taking the following actions is what Harbour really provides there in that setting, plus all the developer tools to make it live natively in an elegant way in your product.
Yeah, and it's so important too. Like for us, we did kind of a pure API version of this, which was actually took our one of our senior developers. I think it took about 5 hours to do
Nice.
the entire integration, which was fantastic. So that was really nice. And there's so many advantages of that. So let's talk for a minute about kind of DocuSign, kind of the elephant in the room. Obviously, that's the big existing player. So let's talk about even for those ISOs that are like, okay, I'm not quite ready to go click wrap yet, but I still, I want that e-signature. I want them to see the full document, or maybe I don't want to, but I feel like I have to, which we'll talk about later. But for that experience, talk about DocuSign versus Harbour. What do you guys have? Why are people, I know you guys have been very successful in a lot of different industries. Why are people coming to Harbour rather than DocuSign?
It's a great question. It's definitely something that we talk about a lot. And giving credit where credit's due, I mean, DocuSign started a lot of this, right? Like they
Yeah.
made it legally okay, basically, to do all these things digitally. So we're very appreciative that we don't have to convince people that paper is not the only way to do a contract. So
Right.
we give credit where credit's due, but where we really do find we are different and offer a premium experience is when it comes to volume. So one of the things a company like Harbour can do that a company that has maybe thousands of people working there can't do is we can focus on something and then execute the heck out of it. And what we have focused on is providing the best contracting experience for high volume businesses. And what that means are really ideally people doing 100 or more completed documents per month. There's some wiggle room there, but with the focus on volume, it lets us do three very distinct things better than other legacy contracting platforms. One is the signer experience. So we invested a lot in making sure that your signers, whether they're checking a box or they're reviewing a document and adding a more formal signature, have a fast, mobile-friendly, branded experience that lets them understand what they're signing and complete that experience as quickly as possible. So that means having things like conditional logic, letting your logo and banner exist on the signer experience, anything that we can do to make it something that people can open up on their phone and get done as quickly as possible. We're excited to keep investing there. The second part is what we do for people's templates. And templates are typically like the core documents that an organization has where some information changes, but the core terms of service or a lot of the core terms stay the same. But things like customer name, PO number, fee, duration, those things will be interchangeable. So we have a part of our product that turns those templates into extremely fast document generation processes where your sales team or reps or whoever can go from customer agrees to terms to customer has a drafted pre-approved template in their hands for signature in under 60 seconds. And our team can build those templates for you, but it is totally self-service, especially with some of our new AI tools that just auto place all the fields for you and help you wire all that up. And then the third thing that really sets us apart there is on the collaboration and workflow side of our product, which provides a ton of value to the internal teams, like our customers. So what we do there is we have dashboards that lets managers, admins, et cetera, see the real-time statuses of all relevant documents across their whole team, whole organization, depending on what their permission structure is. And that visibility alone helps cut down on so many Slack pings, so many emails, et cetera, of like, hey, is this signed yet? Hey, like, did this go out? Like, is this approved? It solves a big communication challenge. And then on the workflows piece, we can automate approvals based on contract value thresholds, team member seniority, all those things. We can just automatically route documents to where they need to go, all under that idea of like, if you're doing a high volume of contracts, we want to get you from sent to signed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, good stuff. So I want to switch gears a little bit here, and I want to talk about two kind of keystone partnerships that I know you already have, and we can talk about how this might scale in other ways. So let's start with Salesforce. So a lot of the medium to larger size ISOs in our industry do use Salesforce, and I believe you guys have already an existing integration there. Could you talk about what you do there and kind of how the functionality you just mentioned, how that works with the Salesforce integration?
Yeah, absolutely. So we call Harbour because it is built to move all your contract data to where it has to go next. And our bet as a business is that contracts are going to continue to be generated and managed actually within other pieces of software. And Salesforce is one of the tentpole pieces of software that we know people want to contract and manage their contracting experience in. So the way our integration works is with a single click from a custom object in there, your sales team can generate pre-configured templates, have them sent out directly through Salesforce with custom branding based on the customer that it went out to or your internal branding. And then the signed document and incremental updates of viewed 1 out of 2 signers, 2 out of 2, et cetera, that all happens in real time through your Salesforce experience, whether that's on an opportunity level, a deal level, or however you've structured your kind of quote to cash to opportunity stage process. We can integrate right in there and automatically move opportunity stages to the right phase based on the status and incremental updates of a contract too. So, and then of course, once it's signed, the completed document goes straight into the Salesforce record and can close it out as one with the signed document in there. One of the really powerful, unique things we do, though, is if a document needs to be redlined throughout that sales process, we can allow certain users to edit the document in Salesforce and update the signable experience with revised terms without ever needing to void the contract or resend it. They
Oh,
can
wow.
literally make the update, say, okay, great, update the signer experience, and then notify their customer that, hey, just refresh your screen and the updated document is already there for your signature.
Yeah, that's great because I know that happens a lot in our industry. Actually, quite a bit of redlining ends up happening there with changes that are made after the initial signature and things like that. And it's always a pain in the neck 'cause when you resend it through DocuSign. Now you have a new envelope or whatever, and now it gets really tricky to track that. By the end of it, you got like three contracts for one deal.
100%. And also like we all know what it's like to be the person on the other side of that thing. You've got 60 seconds, maybe 2 minutes in your day where you've decided to focus on finally getting around to signing that agreement that
Right.
somebody already approved or whatever. And you open it up and it says you're an LLC, but you're really a C Corp. And you're like, I can't sign this. That has to be turned around within seconds. And if it means going back to your inbox or
Right.
needing to like wait for something else to come through, it's not adding like minutes or hours. It's probably days on to closing that deal.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I love that. So we have Salesforce. The other one I really wanted to dive into a little bit here was Esquire Bank. So I thought I would just be really transparent as I try to do with our audience just to share and help them out. So what we did, so Harbour, and you can elaborate more on this in a minute, Josh, but Harbour is an approved vendor for this purpose with Esquire Bank. Did I say that correctly? Is that right?
Yep, spot
Okay.
on.
So we're boarding most of our merchant accounts with Esquire Bank. So we were able to use the ClickWrap. So again, this is the click to agree agreement, and the result of that. So we have our own mobile-friendly web forms that we created, and then at the end of the process, we have the ClickWrap. The merchant scrolls through the basic, like really kind of basic terms. Also, to give everybody a little more context on what we did, which speak to your attorney. Obviously, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice, but what we did is we got an MPA, a merchant agreement, and we have a PDF writer. And so we pre-filled everything in the actual PDF merchant app, and we've created a little link that we were able to use, Josh, with your API to have a little link there to say, hey, you can download if you want to see the full merchant application with the pricing and all that, and you want to see it, you can click here to download that. And we reference that in the terms. Once they click to agree, then we kind of get back similar to like the certificate you would get from a DocuSign, right, Josh? Is
Yep,
that so?
spot on.
Um,
Yeah.
and then we have certain fields and things that we feed into the API to the processor, board the merchant account with the processor, and then we have like an unsigned MPA, and then we have this certificate, and those two together, Esquire Bank considers those to be a signed, whatever you call it, an approved merchant application or whatever. So that was kind of our implementation. And so for those, I think many of our audience is already using Esquire Bank, but talk, Josh, about that process and what it looks like to become approved. If somebody in our audience is like, well, we board with Evolve or with another sponsor bank and they want to use them. Talk about that a little bit.
For sure. And that was an awesome overview too of the integration, which we're just so excited to have that going live with you guys. It's going to add such a fast process for your customers.
Definitely.
But for the Esquire Bank side of things, there's two parts. One is our e-signature compliance, and not just on a US level, but on a pretty much global level. There's a few countries out there that really just have very particular laws, but it's not where any of your customers transact. So that's just
Right.
fine. But for all intents and purposes, there's the eSign compliance part, and then there's the actual just data and information security side of how Harbour handles customer data. So for the eSign compliance part, it's it's about how we are able to prove that this person truly did agree to these terms. And part of that is having something called immutable storage, which is a requirement from the eSign Act. And we have a extremely advanced audit trail of clicks, of timestamps, of IP address, if and when available, everything that would be needed where in a court of law, we could say this person agreed to these terms and it would be irrefutable. And so that was the first step that we had to go through. And that's also done through a third-party audit, which we were able to produce the results from and show, yes, we meet all and exceed all eSign compliance standards, whether it's for the signature portion or just ClickWrap. The other side of it for information and security, number one, we're SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. And we're not just compliant, we maintain continuous compliance through a wonderful company called Drata, which helps companies not just achieve SOC 2 compliance and other frameworks as well, but maintain continuous compliance by monitoring all systems at we use. And also, all new employees go through specific information and security training to stay in compliance with that framework. We also maintain GDPR compliance and all the other frameworks that were required in order to be an approved vendor in this situation. And because we have such tight visibility and prioritize these things so much, getting these types of approvals done, which historically typically takes, I believe, like months, actually tends to take Harbour like 1 to 2 weeks on average for these types of approvals. So it's something we prioritize as a business, and we're very proud of the amount of speed it's able to bring for these types of partnerships.
Yeah, great stuff. So, um, let's kind of, as we kind of come to a close here, I want to make sure we give you an opportunity to talk about kind of what would happen next. So, for those ISOs out there that, whether it's like, man, I really want to get into the ClickWrap, the click to agree concept, or maybe they want to do an eSign, but they want something more mobile friendly. They want that one click where they can just send it out. Maybe they're already working with Esquire Bank or whatever it might be. Where would you send them to just learn more about the company and to find out more about this product?
Sure. First off, go to harborshare.com. You can check out an overview of our product. You can even sign up for a free account and test it out yourself. But if you want to chat at all, just email me. We have a big team here, and everybody's always happy to chat. But I'd love to hear from you. And I'm at josh@harborshare.com. And what I would say there too is if you're thinking about scaling your contracting process, just think of it about your customer experience. This is how your customers are able to kick off the process of truly working together. And that is how we approach this part of building products too. So it's that kind of it's that core ethos that I think will continue to separate us from anything else out there because we think of ourselves as solving a collaboration experience need, not a legal problem.
Mm,
And I think a lot of contracting software comes from a legal problem solving point of view. We care a lot about the legal pieces of this, the e-sign part, the compliance part,
sure.
but we are so focused on helping people work together at scale that it fundamentally just makes us build products in a way that ends up helping you work with more customers.
Mm. And Josh, one last thing. Can you spell Harbor for us? Make sure we got it right for Harbor Share to make sure they go to the right website.
For sure. Thank you. We spell it the European way. So HARBOURSHARE.com, harborshare.com.
Awesome. Josh, thank you so much for taking time to share this with us today. I know this is definitely a need in our industry. And so I'm hoping that your email inbox is filling up quickly over there and you'll learn about that. I think, by the way, also, are you going to be at ETA Transact? Or you guys
Yeah,
have any rep?
one of our reps will be out there. So say hi to Tony. If
Great.
you see him out there, he's at Tony@harborshare.com. And yeah, James, it's wonderful to be working with you. And thanks for having me. This has been a treat.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Josh. Have a great day.
You too.
Hey, everybody. I'm back here with my good friend, Rich Norton. How you doing today, Rich?
I'm excellent. Great to see your happy face.
As always, great to see you as well. And of course, Rich is out in the field selling payment processing as he does most days. And if he's not at the beach with his winners of contests and things of that nature, right, Rich?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So today we actually have a question from an agent. They emailed me and said, "Man, you need to ask Rich this question." So I was like, "Okay." So here's the question. The question is, a lot of times merchants will question things like interchange, and they'll say, "Well, wait, what is interchange? How does that work?" Because I see that on my statement, or even just maybe other complex topics. How do you determine like how deep to go? How do you talk about these topics like interchange versus kind of keeping it simple?
That's a great question. See, what's amazing is that the people that we run into, in fact, I'll bring that up to a lot of merchants and I'll say, have you ever heard of interchange? And I'm going to say 90 something percent of the people will say, no, I don't even know what that is. And the reality is most people, they don't look at the statement. And as we know, like when I first came in, it was like, get a statement. That's all you got to do is break down that statement and
Right.
dissect it and get all the final numbers and everything and show them to the penny how much you're going to save them. But the bottom line now is many people don't get a statement. And even if they get a statement, they can't access the thing at all. And the thing that they look at is what comes out of their bank every month. And that's why a lot of people, and I'll get into that question. This is going to be my long answer. But
Yeah, sure.
a lot of people go out there and it's like, I can't write any deals unless I get a statement. And I think for me, 98% or 99% of the people, I never get a statement at all. Because when we walk into a business, I'll say, hey, look, tell me if this sounds familiar. Typical representative comes in, and the first thing that they're going to ask you is they want to see a statement. Why do they want to see a statement? Because they want to see how much you're paying, and then they're going to cut up a couple bucks off that. And to me, and every business tells me, that's a waste of time. So what we do, if you want to see a statement, we'll show you one of ours. So we do the exact opposite. So if I'm going to talk to a merchant and kind of educate them, I'll let them know, at the very least, I like to educate everybody on how the whole processing works when it comes to payment processing. Have you guys ever heard of the term interchange at all? And again, most people haven't. And I'll say, welcome to the club. You're in that 90-something% club. Nobody's ever explained that. Well, interchange is whenever somebody comes in and they give you a card, whoever issued that card set up a processing fee and they set up a transaction fee. Debit cards being lower. And then when you get into credit cards, all these rewards cards, guess who gets to pay for all those points? You do as the business owner. So those processing fees are a little bit higher. Then you have a transaction fee. Then you have corporate cards. And then when you're manually keying in cards, it could be hundreds and hundreds of different types of interchange. And you could actually look it up. It's available for everybody. That is cost. Anybody that comes in here and tells you, I'm going to lower your interchange, one of two things. Either they don't know what they're doing, and that happens in many cases, or they're completely misrepresenting what interchange is. So whenever you see that statement, that on your statement, if you ever look at it, because most people don't get a statement, that's cost. The key is, and this is if we're presenting traditional processing,
Right.
you want to keep your fee as low as possible over that. And that's where we come in. Now, I can go through all of this, but the bottom line, Mr. Merchant, Joe Merchant, Mary Merchant, the bottom line is what is coming out of your account every month. And that's the most important number. Am I right? For example, in a typical month, what do you think you're doing on average in credit cards, would you say? And they might say, well, I'm doing 30,000 a month. Well, my experience with all the businesses I've been helping that have your same exact program, their monthly fee is about 900, 950, maybe a little bit more. Does that sound pretty accurate? Yeah, as a matter of fact, it was a little bit more. Well, let me show you a couple of our statements so you can see what the difference is compared to what you have right now and what it would be with us. So I think the main thing is, and my long answer is, keep it simple. A lot of times we go in, I was talking to one of our representatives yesterday, and I said, we do information overload. We talk about so much to merchants, things that they don't really care about. And at the end, this is what he says, I have to think about it. Or, we don't make a big decision like this in one day. Well, why do they say that? Because we're making it sound like a big decision. So if we go on and on explaining and over explaining the inner dynamics of interchange and everything else, that flies right over the people's head. And at the end, they say, well, this sounds great, but do you have a card? I got to talk to my partner, or we have to think about it. So it's important to keep it simple and understand is the most important thing is when you're talking to a merchant, you're building trust. You're explaining everything. You're getting them to like you. You have to show them how easy it is to do business with you.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, and I think that's so important because, like you said, if you're going after retail, restaurant, these businesses you're walking into, there's no interchange optimization. For those of you that are familiar with that concept, it's like, if people are coming in and saying, well, I have a direct relationship with Visa and MasterCard, so I can lower that is like scam number one on the list. Very, very common. And so, yeah, alerting them to that.
Have Visa shirts, and not to interrupt you, but I've seen representatives that go out with Visa shirts on. I'm from Visa. Okay, well, good luck with that one.
Good luck with that when you get sued by Visa, right? So
exactly.
So really good stuff as always, Rich. For those who want to learn more about potentially joining your team, working with you in some capacity, where would you send them to learn more?
Absolutely. Please reach out to me. And as you can imagine, since we've done these videos, because you're so popular, it's not me, but since we've done all these videos, I'm getting tons of calls. And what's really resonating with everybody is I'm going to say most of them that call me up say, man, well, I just don't get the training. I want to learn this business. I want to be successful. And that's why I can't stress enough to join a team that's going to take you by the hand from day one, show you how to do the business. Don't get caught up in everything else. Learn how to write 10 merchants per month. That's what we're going to teach you. And then once you get to that level, we'll get to the next level and you're going to make a ton of money. And that's important to join a team that's going to teach you how to do that. And my philosophy is do exactly what we do. Everything that we're teaching is what we're doing in the field. I wrote 2 merchants today, 2 cold calls, drove 120 miles, came back. I got 2. I'm parked on the side of the road to talk with you. That's what we do every day, and I love it. So reach out to me, 904-434-4635, or you can email me at payrockrichnorton@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rich. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.